Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 32 of Syncing with ServiceNow. I'm your host, Andy Whiteside. I've got a full panel with me today. Guys, how's it going?
Doing well.
Going well.
Going great, Andy.
Up to everybody all at one time. We were just chit-chatting. Eclipse is happening, partial eclipse where I'm at. So a couple of minutes late getting started, but nobody knows because it's recorded. So I didn't even have to bring that up, did
Sorry for the tardiness.
I? Sorry to let you know I was late and you didn't know we were late anyway. Hey, let me do the commercial real quick. If you're a ServiceNow customer and other things, but ServiceNow specifically of this podcast, and you're not getting the value out of the platform, Fred and Mike and maybe Eddie and I were on a meeting a while ago, massive customer bank who is getting ready to get rid of ServiceNow. And we're all like, no, don't do that. And they know, and we know, and ServiceNow knows they're not getting the service they need out of the partner they're currently working with. They're paying for one of the big consulting firms to charge them, I mean, literally thousands of dollars an hour, and they're not getting what they're looking for. It's no exact science, but partners like us who are more boutique-ish and able to understand what customers are looking for and connect the dots without trying to manipulate the system for greater gains. That's what we do. So if you're a ServiceNow customer or looking to be one and you're looking for a partner, capital Partner, partner, that's us. And that's why we're here. That's why we do this podcast. So we can talk about things that you need to know about proactively. Doesn't cost you a dime. This podcast is free. I think it's free, right, Fred?
It's free.
Yes, free. Okay, good. All right. So going around the horn, I got Fred Reynolds with me. Fred runs the modern apps practice, which includes ServiceNow. Fred, what's one thing people need to know about you as it relates to what's been going on the last, I don't know, 6 months?
Woo! I'll tell you what, I'm just so extremely excited. I mean, we have so much going on, so much opportunities to talk to more and more customers. I mean, I'm just excited the fact that I learn every day about stuff. So I don't know. I don't think I have to put a pinpoint on one. I think we just have some really, a lot of deals from small to large. And I'm really feeling excited the fact that we're actually helping and making a difference and doing exactly what I think you created this company for, Andy, to bring partners and our vendors together and build those relationships.
Yeah, with the customer in mind, making sure the customer gets what I was going to ask you, coming from the corporate world where you dealt with partners, multiple partners. I think Eddie's joke is he's the only partner he never fired. Does this make sense going back to your corporate days and looking back at it from that perspective? Did you realize how screwed up it was?
No, I didn't. It's kind of funny. Like I was on a road last week and gone to the ServiceNow office and went to an event that we had with our customers. And honestly, the more and more I share my story and kind of where I was and think about what XenTegra is at the core. No, I mean, my biggest regret is not doing this 10 years ago, 11 years ago, Andy, with you, because, I make the joke, Eddie's not the only partner I didn't fire. It was the person. It was a sales rep from a partner because Eddie always invested in what I was trying to do. And I have stolen stuff from Eddie since he's been here. He always talks about being a consultant first. And that is the really important thing because we're not just we sell our vendors products and we sell our services, but it's really trying to help customers understand the value of what they need. And that's so incredibly important. And that's what I do find here and that I really like about this. It makes it exciting. That's what's been going on the last 6 months more than ever in my life is kind of seeing that value and helping people.
I'll hit you with my one question. I'll move on. What do you think our investors think of that strategy?
We don't have any investors.
I know the answer to that one this time.
I think I set Eddie for up that. And look, that's the way business was done for hundreds, if not thousands of years. Customer first, customer in mind, selling good stuff, good services to people who need and want them. That's all it takes.
Can I just share one more thing on that? Because this isn't a little plug here, but it is just the attitude that XenTegra has. Recently, we were awarded the Partner of the Year in our space for ServiceNow. And we gifted a pass that was given to us to give to a customer, a new opportunity. We gave it to somebody that we don't know if we're going to win their business or not. And honestly, that's what I told ServiceNow and that customer. It doesn't matter. Choose us or don't choose us. We're all about trying to make sure we do what's right for you and help you. Like that was really cool. And the responses I got back from like ServiceNow and then was just like, that's really awesome, right? That's actually how you feel. And I'm like, that's 100% how we feel. So
yeah, they gave us
about making it better.
They gave us something we earned, expecting us to spend it on ourselves, and we paid it forward.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
That doesn't happen. It should, but it doesn't. I'm going to go to Mike Sabia real quick. Mike, you've come from the background of working for other partners. I guess just in general, in the month or two you've been here, biggest takeaway for you?
I mean, many of the things that Fred just mentioned, talking about the fact that we don't have investors, that we can spend the the effort where we need to, that we don't have to pay for multiple levels of management above us, that we can, provide the service that we need at a reasonable and appropriate price.
Yeah.
I think that everybody on this call knows that I'm a fairly transparent person. I like create solutions, and as you were just saying, Andy, if we're not the best match, if we're not able to be helpful, then we'll find another great opportunity.
Yeah. Or we'll go find you a partner of ours that's a partner of a partner that we know and trust is the right fit.
And I love the fact, just on Mike real quick, like it's just been a great addition to XenTegra, but his mentality, like he showed even over this weekend, Eddie and Mike were texting because Mike was like, hey, we need to make sure we get this done for this particular customer that wasn't asked before this weekend's done. So like you can tell Mike's even thinking about it, which I don't always want to encourage. Don't think about this all the time on your own time in the weekend, but it just does show the commitment. And if Mike wasn't enjoying what he was doing, I don't think he'd be riding the lawnmower thinking about a customer that we need to do something for. So very cool.
Oh, I usually call those shower moments, but with Mike, we'll call those lawnmower moments.
Well, I'm watching his wife cut the grass. I don't know how he operates.
My eldest is 12 now, and I need to get her to start mowing the lawn this year, so it is apropos. I usually woke up in the middle of the night, or in the morning thinking about these rather than the shower, but the point is taken.
I will tell you, multiple people have told me they do listen to these podcasts while mowing the grass, so maybe there is a tie in there somewhere.
Yeah.
All right, Eddie McDonald, you've been on all sides of this and seen it done goodish and baddish and really bad and somewhat good. Your take on the model?
So it's such an interesting question because it would be easy for me to talk about our skill set. Fred has assembled some of the rock stars in the industry that people have been here for decades or longer. I've worked with in the past, like Mike and a number of other architects. It would be easy for us to say how advantageous our rates are to our customers because we don't have 10 tiers of managers that take a nickel off every deal. So we're very competitive. But for me, the takeaway for me is I've worked in small boutique partners to global elite partners. What we do, what is special, is our culture. It is this group of people, not just in the ServiceNow space, but across modern apps, across XenTegra LLC or across XenTegra Gov or our nonprofit. It's just something special. And I'm not trying to blow sunshine, Andy, for the folks that you've assembled, but there's something about working with a group of people that are not just always about the money. Let's make it about the customer. Let's take care of each other while we're doing it. The money will come. Success will come if we're doing it the right way. And that's the biggest takeaway from me. That will breed more loyalty from me than any zeros on my paycheck.
Yeah. And the people who get the most benefit out, whether they realize it or not, is the vendor who needs that representation. All right, let's jump into the blog for today. Let's see, Fred and team, you guys brought this 10 things IT leaders need to know to drive ITAM success. ITAM stands for IT Asset Management. This is from Brian Blackburn from April 1st, 2024. I'm going to just tee this up real quick by pointing out that ServiceNow, like lots of organizations, is moving in all kinds of directions, going east-west in the platform, the workflows that they provide. We get that, and we are all about, other areas of the business, whether it's SPM or HRSD, other aspects within IT and outside of IT that we can help with the platform around. We also understand that there are a lot of customers that are struggling with the core, what we call IT star, IT asterisks, where they bought ServiceNow, yes, for help desk ticketing system, but they also bought it to run their IT, and they've never accomplished that the way they wanted to across the spectrum of the IT portfolio they offer. And that's why we keep bringing this back to some of the more relevant IT topics like ITAM. Fred, I think you picked this blog. What was the main reason why you wanted to cover this one today?
Well, Mike actually picked it, but let me just start here. And I want to start a little high level. One, this particular blog has 10 things, and I think we could be on top of some of them in various places. But IT asset management, number one, is extremely important. And I think as a lot of companies don't put the focus in there, do a lot of stuff through spreadsheets. They manage their assets in all different areas. And I think the importance of this blog and the timing of it being now, and the real point it's trying to make through some of this is the fact that IT asset management is not just about traditional IT assets anymore. This platform has become broad. Assets have been defined in different ways. and assets are a different thing for some other companies. So I think one, I like the fact Mike selected this. I want to make sure we put the groundwork into what asset management is. And then also within the ServiceNow platform, there's a couple of different levels of that. IT asset management, Mike, you keep me very solid here because you know this a lot more, but from an IT asset management is the base and one of the core things that comes with the platform when you get ITSM. But then there's also additional licenses like hardware asset management, software asset management that comes with a lot more features and functionality to help you grow that. So Mike, just maybe expand on that a little bit too to make sure our audience understands IT asset management and within the ServiceNow platform.
Yeah, I thought this was a good topic for today. In some of our most recent podcasts, we've talked about, new releases or Gen AI or Gen AI again, but these are still fundamental things. And to Fred's point, IT asset management comes with the ITSM product, which of course is also included in CSM. But you can store your hardware assets, you can store your software assets, and that's important. You'll be able to be tactical. You're able to know where you're going. You're able to understand who owns what, how it's used. But the additional products, the Software Asset Management Pro and the Hardware Asset Management Pro, take it a next step. The Hardware Asset Management, takes it above to talk about the model normalization or the whole life cycle automation. So if you're doing decommissioning and all the workflows associated with it, that's not part of the base product. The base product does a good job of storing what you want, but adding it up and adding that extra logic into it is part of HAM Pro. You also have asset inventory where where in the basic product, you could use your mobile device to scan a serial number or an asset tag as you receive it. But with Hardware Asset Management Pro, you can start doing asset inventories where you can go into a storage room and start scanning and maybe take a lunch and go back and scan it again and make sure that all your assets are where you expect them to be. Or you're able to, provide the visibility to your, asset manager on where we are, what assets need to be deprecated, or where they are in that deprecated life cycle, or as one of the topics of these tents mentioned, what are the inherent risks? Yeah. So in a healthcare industry, you might have biomed, and biomed devices are actually a threat to security of the platform. If that device is not kept up to speed or has a security hole, then that can impact your organization. And asset management is not just what you have, but making sure it's healthy, accurate, and useful.
So Mike, I'm sure based on what I'm reading ahead, we're going to get into this, but my neighbor does asset management. And the first time I met him, I was trying to connect the dots between IT asset management and asset management. And what I really came away with is the product that he currently works with does assets like, cars, trucks, things you'd have on a shelf somewhere, medical devices potentially. And whereas ServiceNow started in the realm of IT asset management, but has moved into the world of asset management across the entire business, not just what IT is managing and supporting.
Right. What they call enterprise asset management.
Enterprise asset. Okay, great.
Yep.
All right, let's run through the topic to make sure we don't miss any here. But the first one says, number one, ITAM has become a strategic imperative. Mike,
so before we start to comment on this, I think it's important to notice that this blog post is a little bit different. It's not about solutioning. This is saying the quiet parts out loud. These are the things that organizations need to do. They need to focus on to take action on. So, strategic imperative. Yes. I mean, as Mike just said, there's enterprise assets from cloud to hardware to business services, all of these assets. It's not being addressed. It's as these initiatives are not strategic right now, which is why it has to become strategic.
Yeah. Well, and so when XenTegra started implementing ServiceNow a couple of years ago, I'm like, why are we doing this? Well, it's for security. We can't secure what we don't know we have. I was like, well, what are we talking about securing? The guy's like, everything. I'm like, oh, okay, I get it. Yep. So I think what Eddie just said kind of covers number one, but Mike, any additional thoughts to be strategic?
15, 20 years ago, people thought of IT as an expense, and good businesses are growing, think of IT as core to their business. And now we have to start thinking about your assets. It's core to your business, not just, hey, what happens to be there or how can I track it back, but actually having it be useful, have the correct assets, knowing what you have, what the security holes are, where you're going, the accuracy, the uniformity, the usefulness of those assets is becoming more and more important.
Yeah. I think what I'll do here, Mike, since you picked this block, I'm going to run through these with you, and then Fred and Eddie chime in over the top for things you think we need to round out each topic. Anything on that first one you guys want to comment on?
No, I think that's good and covered.
All right, number 2, ITAM must speak the language of the business. I'll add overall business, the entire business. I should use the word "the" as it's meant to be used. Mike, you want to cover this?
Well, some of these same things we just spoke about, minimizing security risks, doing some of the audits, but there are 5 things listed here in addition to the 2 I just mentioned: employee productivity, optimizing your spend, level of automated processes. Each of those things is really your utility. Where if a customer of ours comes and says, hey, we want to do hardware asset management pro or software asset management pro, we're going to ask, hey, well, what are you trying to accomplish? What's your imperative? What's your business objective? And then how can we make sure the product meets those, not just, oh, we're going to implement HAM. And these are the 5 topics. These are the KPIs that we need to know, where are they coming from? Where do they need to go? And how do we measure it as we do an implementation?
I think what's important here it must speak the language of the business, right? Business owners, what they mostly care about is their metrics, their KPIs. Mike just mentioned KPIs. And when you look at that in these areas you talked about, security risk, right? ServiceNow gives you a platform that allows you to have dashboards and metrics around these things, and they're very important. That's how you measure success. That's how you see if you're going in the right direction. And that's why I think it's important to have a unifying platform like ServiceNow for all the assets across, because assets may live and may be different things across a business unit, because it may need some IT assets. It may need some other assets that complete a service or a product that they're trying to deliver. So it's very important for them to be able to, when it says speak the language, I think it's able to make metrics and report out on what they're trying to measure, what they're trying to manage.
Yeah, you're covering the whole landscape of the business and giving the data, giving the information back that's needed the way it's needed and wanted.
And you have to have a platform that can unify that information and present it versus things being in silo products or niche applications.
Well, I think that's what this next one talks about. I'm not sure, but it says, and this should be a no-brainer, but it needs to be stated. Number 3, success starts with accurate asset information. Mike?
It's true. A CMDB is only as useful as it is accurate. And you could, add some assets in there, and then maybe you'll keep one up to date because you have to, but then it becomes stale or becomes, it's not confirmed as being accurate, or maybe there's some information that is missing from it. Ultimately, if you want it to be useful, you have to make sure it's accurate, and that means populating it on a routine basis, using the health dashboard to identify assets that have not been updated or touched in X number of days. So,
Andy, you started this off by saying this is a no-brainer. The funny thing is, although it seems like a no-brainer, this is where a lot of companies struggle, absolutely struggle. Even in this article, it says 33% of organizations consider the completeness and accuracy of their asset management to be outstanding. Only 33%. And yet people think this is extremely important to manage their business with. So people still absolutely struggle with that. And we see that from our customers today. The starting point is, what's the health of your CMDB look like? Yeah. How are you managing your assets?
And
yeah, we had a couple calls about that today. I mean, of course, ServiceNow has ServiceNow Discovery with a capital D that can reach out and populate your CMDB and also use SCCM. But we also have a partnership with Tanium, which is like ServiceNow Discovery on steroids. So there are a number of different options to pull accurate, repeatable data into your CMDB.
Yeah, when you guys do our what we call micro assessments, these free complimentary assessments, CMDB health is one of the top things you're talking to customers about, I think.
There's always something that comes out of those assessments where we talk about their CMDB, the health, and usually Mike and other architects give them some good nuggets to say, hey, this is what we saw, and here's some next steps to trying to make sure you get that in a healthier state. So yeah, I don't think we've had an assessment where we've seen, oh yeah, that all looks perfect. It's just not there. Yeah. Even large enterprises are not there.
All right. Number 4 here, security, as always, is a major priority.
Yeah. I mentioned the example of biomed, where maybe a biomed device has a security hole and therefore somebody could get into your network. But it's not just biomed devices. It could be your networks, it could be switches. How old are your devices? Are they supported? And ServiceNow can help you identify that. And then the same thing on the software side. Is this a software that has a critical patch? Is it something that's not supported? Is it something that there's a newer version you need to consider going through up to for security reasons?
Yeah, but
Key to businesses. Security is a main driver of a lot of the IT improvements that are out there. And
So one thing I would say about the security too, like everybody knows where they were the day of 9/11. But I also know where I was the day that like the ransomware hit everybody in these companies. You remember that? When the big ransomware virus went out, it was just like from a managed service business, that was a nightmare. But the good thing having a platform like this to be able to identify your assets and what could be affected right away, like that's how you remediate a lot of those type of security risk in that way.
Well, Fred, I would say yes. At one point, I could have said that, but now it happens so often. And it'd probably be fair to say that every device more than 6 months old without an update is vulnerable. Well, they're all vulnerable, but likely to have been exploited.
True these days, Andy. I'm saying like the very first one, I mean, it had to be maybe 8 years ago at this point where that ransomware went out and it just started taking everybody down, right? It made us understand the vulnerability of something that can crawl like that. So agree.
Number 5 here is ITAM maturity benefits from a platform approach. Mike, what are they covering there?
It's many of the same things we've just talking about. If you want to be mature business, you need to have IT be part of your business. If you want to be a mature business, you have to have ITAM be part of the business, not just something that is thought of as an extra. It's something that you need to have maturity around. You need to have the data coming in. You have to have governance about how you ingest data, how you monitor that data with the dashboards. It has to be a platform approach, not just an extra thing you consider. And ServiceNow is a single pane of glass, provides this along with SPM and HRSD and all the other capabilities of ServiceNow into a single view of your organization.
It's interesting that they led this topic with, companies are better positioned to navigate the complexities of digital transformation with ITAM maturity. Organizations that don't have a 3-year digitalization plan are already behind the 8 ball. And those that don't have, like you said, you seem to be populated with accurate information are that much farther away. So digital transformation and accurate assets absolutely run hand in hand.
All right, number 6 here, diverse asset types are being managed together. I think this kind of comes back to the platform conversation, but I think maybe it ties in several of the conversations we've had so far, Mike.
Yeah, exactly. The IT asset management, or what are your other devices that you need to maintain? I've worked at a partner where they had to worry about railroad engines, like the engine that was pulling a train. That's a CI, and when it's been updated, is it accurate? When it was maintained, what software is on that device. You have to look beyond just the IT to every asset that supports your company.
And I think it just closely couples with the one before that, right? That platform approach. If you don't have a platform and a platform approach that can handle the diverse types of assets, then you're not going to be able to move forward where everything's trending.
And I love that you brought that part up. Everything's trending. It's going that way, whether it's somebody in my spectrum of people was talking about IoT devices and getting those secured. That comes up every 6 months or so, but honestly, the topic never really should go away.
Yeah. Yep.
Number 7 here, ITAM and FinOps collaboration can be beneficial.
If you have a lot of assets out there, are they being used? Are they being used appropriately? Or you have servers there that are low optimized or low used, or don't have particular services attached to them? Is what's the financial impact of that? It's that whole single pane of glass that we've been talking about.
Especially around the software asset management piece and financial operations, they go hand in hand because, implementing ServiceNow's Software Asset Management Pro typically will save you 10 to 12% on your software spend your first year. and 4 to 5% year over year after that. So absolutely, asset management and financial operations run together.
And there's there's a number of studies that ServiceNow can help a customer generate in order to justify that ROI. Based on those, where you are, your usage, how you're tracking it or not tracking it today, the number of devices, what are your expected savings? And ServiceNow's Software Asset Management Pro is not free. It has a cost to it, but it has that savings.
And I think when we made the change, and most companies made a change to start moving into the cloud or being a hybrid solution, especially hybrid, a lot of the IT people didn't have a way of managing what was in the cloud, the assets in the cloud, the scale of what's happening in the cloud. And so they were overspending because they didn't really have a good handle on the consumption of the cloud. So you have to have something like this so you can actually get the information, that the utilization from the cloud, and have that in the ways you can manage it.
Yeah.
It definitely was something that in my previous role, we had to really think hard and about starting to move into a hybrid cloud solution because we didn't have the tools in place at that time to manage cloud type solutions.
Well, next topic, we move away from things that are in the cloud to that legacy ESG motion where we've got all this stuff, junk, if you will, even laying around. I literally have 50 laptops in my office right now that I'm in the process of converting to Chromebooks so I can give them away to nonprofits. That's been an ongoing saga for companies forever. It goes back to that spreadsheet and I don't know, maybe some type of asset allocation thing that you threw them out the door and somebody had noted for them, hopefully, and you hope nothing was on those. That can't be the plan going forward. How does this impact ESG for number 8 here? ESG is top of mind.
I mean, what you were just mentioning about information on those devices, when you have an asset and you're decommissioning and you need to show proof to your auditors that it has been received by the decommissioning company and they've provided you paperwork to certify that they did the appropriate business. Not necessarily ESG specific, but it's still important. What is your whole disposal process? But then add the ESG, the environmental, social, and government aspect on top of that. Is it being thrown in a landfill? Is it being recycled? And that is something we should at least consider. It would be nice to be able to say, hey, give it to you. I don't want to worry about it. But if you want to be a steward of the earth and you want to share with your share owners or at least your customers who are wanting to have a great a company and a partner that is interested in making things the way they should be, these are things you have to consider.
Well, and the governance piece of this is really important because depending on what type of certifications you hold in a company that you have to maintain, I mean, just like the asset tracking or incident management, I mean, managing this from a governance perspective is easy for tracking and showing and being audited. So it's a really important piece to show.
Well, it becomes imperative that you be able to do this at some point.
Yep.
ITAM continues to expand beyond IT assets. I feel like we've covered this, but this must be a different take on it. Mike, you want to cover it?
It's very much similar to what we've been talking about. It's more than just IT. How does it embed ourselves in our daily operations? When does that asset need to be acquired? When does that asset need to be used? When does that asset need to be assigned to a person or decommissioned? And enterprise asset management is, as it says, a ripe area for vetting your IT tools and processes to make sure that you're following the processes that the government and your customers expect.
Yeah. Well, and I love that you brought up first the government piece. Okay, fine, but it's the what your customers are expecting of you as a partner of theirs. Without a proper IT asset management program platform, you really can't be successful there. All right, Mike, number 10 on the list here is automation. Between automation and AI, we're hearing those terms constantly these days. How does ITAM prepare a company to be successful with automation?
So one of the things, and it's a little bit of a stretch from here, is the fact that when you have CIs, which use assets, and they have events happening, then you can be proactive in identifying issues before they crop up. And if you have a lot of stuff out there and you're not sure where it is or where it is in the decommission process or how secure it is, that's troublesome. And machine learning and AI come in there to assist. And some of that automation is not necessarily AI driven. I mentioned before the hardware asset management that it adds those additional workflows to facilitate those processes. But to have machine learning to say, where are these servers living? What's the use of it? What are some of the things that you need to be aware of? AI and machine learning allow you to have those insights without going in and digging in through yourself.
Yeah. Fred, comments on automation?
No, I mean, automation is key. I mean, automation is how you drive a lot of efficiency, and you get rid of the mundane task, and you get rid of human error. So, I mean, I think even when it comes to asset management, I mean, it's a must and a must have. So
I know we had our internal management call today. We're still plugging away, implementing more and more ServiceNow internally, and the answer keeps coming back to efficiency and automation internally at XenTegra. So we're not only a reseller and an integrator and an MSP, we use this stuff.
But the great thing, Andy, is all that's coming from the users and the business units, right? That's the great thing. It's not leadership. It's not our modern apps practice pushing for that adoption. It's the users asking for it. That's what I love about it.
Yeah. Hey, Eddie, you've been quiet a little bit on this automation. How does it relate to what you're seeing within customers?
Well, the funny thing about automation is it leads with it's no longer just strategic. It's part of every conversation we have. It's how can I route this ticket without touching it? How can I get an alert without sending an email? I mean, it's not only what ServiceNow is primary function is a massive workflow engine, but the automation is it's our everyday lives. Even here at my house, it's like, how can I automate this little thing that I'm doing? It's just part of our vernacular now, and automation around IT is just the next logical step.
It's everywhere. It's around our personal life. It's around our corporate life. And even if you're not trying to automate things are getting automated around you, for you, as part of some platform. Who knows? ServiceNow is likely to be behind a lot of those.
A really easy one is like, I'll go turn on the TV and I'm automatically logged in to certain like Hulu or Netflix. It's that one level of automation, knowing that this is the IP address for this TV, and it lets me log in. That's a simple little piece of automation that makes my life easier because I don't have to do my ridiculous long personal email.
Yeah, absolutely. I ran into that last night, and when it works, which most of the time, it works great. I had a situation last night where one of my devices was off the Wi-Fi, and that automated hit a button process. Everything just works. Unbelievably frustrating, but most of the time, even when traveling, it makes life so much easier.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think that actually brings up a topic where a lot of the vendors that we work with, we're not working with customers necessarily, but we're working with our vendors to help them use ServiceNow for these processes that they're implementing, like we just talked about with automation of some type of authentication or enabling a device. Them helping customers with ServiceNow is something I found interesting that I didn't expect to have happen, but we're starting to see it the more we bring it up with our vendors. I think, Fred, you got a couple scenarios going on now where we have vendors that we work with that are becoming customers.
Went on mute. Yeah, that's absolutely the truth.
Yeah. Well, Mike, what did we miss that we should have covered?
I think we covered a lot.
Yeah.
I think we did a good job of highlighting some of the elements that are important to ITAM. And I would just want to add that if a customer comes to us and says, hey, I want to do more with my C&DB, I want to do more with the asset management, I want to do more with my hardware assets, my software assets, we have that ability to come with you, talk about what you want to accomplish it, why you want to accomplish it, meet those imperatives and objectives, and then come with the solution. And then come up with the solution to answer that, rather than say, hey, we're going to implement SAMPRO.
Right.
We always need to look at that value, emphasize with customer, help them sell it to their bosses. Somebody has to sign that paycheck. We don't want to just give a price. We want to help you justify it, help you be able to explain why it's important and the value we'll get out of it.
Yeah, I've seen you guys do that a couple of times where, yes, customer could buy something additional, but wait a minute, what are you trying to accomplish? Couldn't you just do that with what you already have? That's, again, the opportunity for us to be a real partner, not only for the customer, but in the long run for the vendor, because we want to position stuff that people can use and free up money to buy the appropriate things later. Well, gentlemen, thanks for the time, and look forward to having another conversation with you guys 2 weeks from now.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.